So what does all this mean? So America and Haiti has not gotten along. So America meddles in the affairs of Haiti and has been doing so. White America cannot stand this little tiny mountainous island to stand on its own for the first black republic to be able to exist and thrive on their own. They keep meddling in the affairs. They didn't support him in the very beginning. They occupied him for 20 years. They supported the 30-year dictatorship of the Duvaliers. And then they ousted him, after they supported him for such a long time, sort of like they did with Saddam Hussein and Bin Laden and Mubarak. So then after they ousted him, more chaos happens, and then they need to do another coup d'état 6 years afterwards. 86 there's a coup d'état, 1991 there's a coup d'état, 2004 there's a coup d'état. Within the last 3 decades, there's been three coup d'états. So in the modern history, America has kicked out and removed the president of another country, which is, I'm pretty sure, illegal by international standards. Just imagine the comparison if that was done to America. So Haiti doesn't like the policies of America, so they come over here and they surround Obama with a bunch of guns, and they say you need to go to South America, and they exile him to South America. If that was done, Americans would be rightfully indignant. They shouldn't accept it, and that's what we've been doing in their affairs. There was some justification for Baby Doc, but then 1991 and then 2004, it seemed like it was more about control and about setting a policy to where it's more pro American business friendly than it was about actually what is best for Haiti. So America has a penchant for being able to go into different countries, and that carries on a long legacy in Haiti. Haiti's the first black republic. They kicked out the Spanish. They kicked out the French. They have Indian Taino culture, and they have African culture, and then they got their own culture too. So there's some American culture as well. So it's a very cultured land. They speak both French and Creole, so they speak two languages. Whereas here in America, we're the land of monolingualism. A lot of people, I only speak English, and I don't give a fuck if I speak anything else. I don't give a fuck. English, everybody should be speaking English. I hate when I push on the phone. They say push one for English, two for Spanish. Well, damn, why should I push? That's not a fucking problem. Fuck you. That's the stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard. It's just stupid racism. Push one for one language or two for another language, and usually the one is English. So as soon as you hear push one for English, you push one for English. You don't have to wait for the second one. If anything, the Spanish people should be pissed off because they have to wait, for the English option before they could push their own option. So it's like they're second-class citizens, and that's kind of true still here in America. So what's the point? They've had, America has intervened, and this is Bill Clinton. In the recent 1991, that was Papa Bush who did the coup d'état, and then Bill Clinton inherited the legacy. He reinstalls Aristide into Haiti, which pisses Papa Bush off, and Baby Bush gets in there and he carries the second coup d'état against Jean-Bertrand Aristide. So Bertrand Aristide was coup d'état twice, first by Papa Bush and then by Baby Bush. You want to talk about regime of oppression? You want to talk about a legacy of uh, dynasties, a dynastic legacy, which is shitty. That is a shitty legacy. So let's see. So you have, there's a lot of issues that's going on between here, and I think there's an earthquake that had happened, and there's a hurricane that happened, and we're still holding the money back. There hasn't been much money spent. The money that has been spent, they don't know where it's at, so it's being held unaccounted for. A lot of mismanagement. After the hurricane is when they needed that money. After the earthquake is when they needed the money instantly. Bush showed how he was a racist with Katrina. Waited 3 days before ever doing a fucking thing about the damn thing. We're doing the same thing with Haiti. There's an earthquake, hurricane. We're going to hold the money back so we can, let them eat out of the palm of our hand, right? Here's a little bit of scraps, and I'll just keep on coming back for us. And I think it's horrible. I think Haiti needs to figure out they need to figure out their own country, and they need to, design their own thing without foreigners meddling in their business. In 1800, when Haiti was a French colony, the soil of Haiti was so rich and fertile, so fecund, There's four crops that were mainly grown: tobacco, spices, sugarcane, and indigo. It grew yearly. So indigo is dye, sugarcane, spices, and tobacco. So it was a rich colony. There's lots of resources. It's a mountainous region. There's a lot of resources that could be used if there's some infrastructure and there's some industry that could extract some of those resources, provide jobs. Just the rock from a mountain could be made into cinder blocks, so, which could build houses. So just the rocks are a resource, but there has to be more resources. The soil was good. It was the crown jewel of the French colonies over in America. Haiti was like the best, richest, place. It was a plantation and it was slavery. But my point is that there's a high potential for Haiti to reestablish their dominance. They've always had all this money, or they were one of the richest colonies before. So if they could just kind of figure out a system, they can get that same money. They still have the same soil. They still have the same mountains and the same raw materials. So what's the problem? What's the difference? So the monetary value of Haiti's exports amounted to more than all of Spain's gold and silver produced in Latin American colonies combined. So it was just a lavish, just a rich place. The great wealth of the important French city of Bordeaux was built on the West Indian slavery, not on wine. So Bordeaux, France can thank Haiti for their existence too, along with the 12 or 13 states that the Louisiana Purchase had created. They should thank to Saint Louverture. Bordeaux, France should thank Haiti to Saint Louverture, or maybe not to Saint Louverture, but should thank Haitians for all that work that they did, and they should actually pay them reparations. Bordeaux, you owe Haiti some reparations. You need to pay Haiti's reparations back. Aristide was correct on that. The reparations fucked over Haiti, and history does have an impact on what had happened. France benefited from the money that they had. Haiti went into debt. People say it happened long ago. It's not that long ago. 1804, that's like three grandmothers talking back to back. So, it was a couple generations, but it definitely had some really huge effects. And Haiti's a wealthy French colony for the occupiers. Haiti and America has had a tumultuous relationship since the very beginning. America says we're free from British occupiers, and then Haiti says we want to be free from our French occupiers, and America's like, fuck you, Haiti. We're going to spend money against you. And we're not going to allow you to have any arms. Haiti wanted liberty for all, but America did not want liberty for everybody. Thomas Jefferson wanted to keep his slaves, and so did the southern plantation, the cotton plantation in the South. Both America and Haiti's constitutions had racist institutions, but America's was worse. America's legalized slavery. It's okay to treat people like animals. Since 1915, Uncle Sam's kept their hand in Haiti's cookie jar, as if those cookies was America's to begin with. They set up the National City Boys, the big bankers, to do as the fuck as they please. Major Smedley Butler of the Marine Corps said, I helped make Haiti and Cuba a decent place for the National City Bank boys to collect revenues in. So he was in Cuba and in Haiti doing the exact same thing. And America still fights for the big bankers. Even today, 2008, there's this big recession about about a worldwide economic collapse would have happened. And in Iceland, they throw all the bankers into prison. But here in America, we actually paid the bankers for fucking up the entire company, and says, well, you're too big to fail, so here's a bunch more money so we can save your all's bad investments. So we cared about the big bankers back in the day. We still give a fuck about the big bankers. Woodrow Wilson is the one that created the Federal Reserve, and so he's an imperialist, and just makes me wonder, what the fuck is that shit all about? Why is all of our money like mostly speculation and none of it's actual goods and services? It's all stock market shit. Is that what our entire economy is based on? And is that why everything about collapsed? So, just to give you an idea, with Papa Doc is, black nationalist, and he's a strong dictator or whatever. Some people fucking like him, which is some Haitians like him, which is insane to me. No, but North Carolina Senator Jesse Helms, he's a segregationist. He was against Martin Luther King Day. He filibustered Martin Luther King Day for about 18 days. He's filibustering. He's like, don't give him a day, you damn it. Jesse Helms. Throughout Papa Doc and Baby Doc's reign of terror, he was in support of Papa Doc. He liked Papa Doc. Jesse Helms was against the Civil Rights Act of 64, against the Voting Rights Act of 65. He was against Martin Luther King Day. He was for segregation. He was for racism. And he loved Papa Doc. Well, how could a fucking white supremacist piece of shit like somebody like Papa Doc? Because they're both conservative, right-wing, capitalist fucktards who just want to oppress everybody and institute an authoritarian, totalitarian dictatorship and lord power over people. And since he didn't like people, he liked to have a strong, black man tell all the black people what needs to be done. Jesse Helms likes him, and Jesse Helms like Papa Doc. I think you should not. He's a dickhead, and I don't know if that convinces you or not. But he's also, killing lots of people, selling their organs to people. He does this weird voodoo shit, human rights abuses, and the weird voodoo, the weird stories where he collects people's heads and he kills all the black dogs. He's a black nationalist, but all black dogs have to die. That's insane. Nobody told him that, hey, people can actually transform into a different animal. That no one said that to him? And how do you not know that? How do you not know that people cannot transform into a dog? So, throughout Papa Doc and Baby Doc's reign of terror, the United States sent lots of Haitian officials to the infamous School of Americas. The School of Americas, I think, it still exists today. It's under a different name because that's too catchy and too easy to memorize. Now people have these corporate names that just go on and on. I saw this check that just said the Columbus area incorporated, so that way you can't. Which you're against the Columbus area? How can you be against? No, not the Columbus area, the corporation of the Columbus. So you have these long, lengthy names, so that way you can't hate it. Blackwater is now XU or something, Zoo. So it's not Blackwater, it's just like the different name. They changed the name, so now their public perception will be fixed, right? So anyways, the School of America, the United States was sending Haitian officials to the School of Americas where they learned all about American military techniques. They learned how to do torture techniques and other methods of oppression. The graduates were then returned to the Haitian military and civilian police forces, and it gave Americans increasing control of the military during the Duvaliers regimes. So the Duvaliers was, allowing them to study in the School of Americas, and then they would come back, and Americans had some control over, some of their military people. Every Republican president during the Duvalier reign of terror were cozy with them. Only the Democrats had a problem with them. JFK and Jimmy Carter were not friendly to the Duvaliers. But Eisenhower, Dwight D. Eisenhower, and Johnson, Lyndon Baines Johnson, and Nixon, Richard Milhouse Nixon, and Gerald Ford, and Carter too, and JFK a little bit, and Ronald Reagan. They all financially supported the anti-communist, right-wing military totalitarian dictatorship. Both Papa Doc and Baby Doc are responsible for the 30,000 Haitian deaths with the Tonton Macoute, the plain-clothes death squads who were not paid. They had to rely on bribery and extortion to get paid. Both Papa Doc and Baby Doc embezzled millions of dollars from Haiti's public treasury, and they both were involved in selling Haitian organs on the international markets. Fidel Castro, Saddam Hussein, and Lenin started out as having good ideas, and then they just turn evil and they just become oppressive as fuck. There's Leninism, but then there's Stalinism, right? There's the idea that we need to be all together, and then there's Stalinism, which says the dictatorship of the proletariat. I am in charge. Everybody's got to do as I say, and I'm allowed to do anything I want to. And actually, Nixon said that if the president does it, it's not illegal. And there is modern nation state theory actually says that's true. You're democratically elected. The state has all the power. It's a leviathan. And if you're the king, if you're the one that's in charge of the state, you have a monopoly of power. You can do as the fuck as you please. So in that regards, and American government's done shit like this too. They killed all the Indians. Whenever there was any protest with Indians, they would kill the Indians. They did it in Waco, Ruby Ridge. There's strikers, a lot of strikes they would break up in the 1890s, the Pullman strike and the Homestead strike. Traditionally, American government supports the modern nation-state theory that the state has a monopoly of violence. That's how it always happens. There's a strike, and then the state comes in, or the Marines or the military is sent in to stop the strike, and then it's over. Now, Teddy Roosevelt actually kind of flipped that model on its head, and when there was the railroad strike in, I want to say, Eastern Kentucky, or the coal miner strikes, Teddy Roosevelt says that he's going to take the Marines and they're going to take over the mines, away from the operators, and let the workers work there. And so he was just going to nationalize the mines, and then the owners would lose all their money then. So the military could be used for the people.